Even though hierarchy is supposed to exist, I'm not sure if it exists in nature, even though there's a whole food chain. Hierarchy is a natural thing in some respect, insofar as like social structures in other animals. However, in all of its manifestations, there's seldom evidence that hierarchy improves the material condition of the social unit that it governs, right? Like the hierarchy that humans are kind of programmed to be susceptible to is very tribalistic, so it will work on a small scale, right? There's a pro hierarchy and anti hierarchy bias that humans have that are very contradictory the larger in scale society exists at. But they are oftentimes oddly compatible when you have a very small unit of societal organization. For example, a small village with a village elder, right? People would defer to a charismatic village elder, the bias towards the strongman, the bias towards authority, towards trusting authority. But there's also baked into that, there's a bias towards direct democracy, knowing and participating in your community, not as somebody subservient to the village elder, but as an equal who simply respects the experience of the elder, right? You have the pro-democracy bias and a pro-hierarchy, thereby anti-democracy bias, that at the smallest level are compatible with each other. And that is like a very basic animal instinct that humans have, right? But then you extrapolate it to higher and higher levels. For example, the scale of a country, right? Even if it's not a very big country, you know, it only has to be a few thousand people strong for these biases to start really clashing against each other. Now the degree of social abstraction is much larger. You no longer have the dynamic where the village elder is somebody that you know personally and can trust. It's a much more parasocial relationship. So hierarchy, once you extrapolate it larger than maybe 100 people, is fundamentally incompatible with direct democracy. And direct democracy is what keeps communities connected to themselves and functional. Right? All the political studies that we have in experiments of direct democracy, for example, like at the local and state level, citizen referendums, all the evidence that we have is that, you know, when people are given political power and left to their own devices relatively outside of a broader parasocial propaganda network, conditions tend to improve. Democracy is good, and we know that from data, right? Hierarchy is bad, and we know that from data. You know? Like shit, think of like every single policy and political change that comes as a result of increasing authority of the strongman, consolidation of authority, the acute sharpening of hierarchy in America, in Germany, in the UK right now, in like any country across the world. And like we have a robust sample size of hierarchy making the world worse, and an equally robust but not quite as visible sample size of direct democracy making the world better. Leftist meme again. But yes, hierarchy is a thing that's like natural to exist, but you know, I don't want to appeal to a naturalistic fallacy, right? But you know, because another thing that's natural is cancer. And I don't think cancer should exist personally. Not a fan of that. Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't see anything interesting here. My anti-hierarchy personality is the deepest being. Sounds like the origin of kings. It is, very much so. You know, a charismatic, parasocial strongman that is able to unite the community in support of themselves, potentially even to the detriment of that own community. You know? Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.